Welcome to More Than a Parent, a podcast exploring who we are and what we want outside of being a parent, so we can create an integrated lifestyle with impact both in and out of our homes. I'm Kaz Gaddis, and I invite you to join me to be your more, live your and. Hey, Kaz here. Welcome. Today, we're going to be talking to Brooke Markevicius. She is the founder and CEO of Momentum, like Momentum, get it? Momentum. Momentum Marketplace, to be exact. A place of goods and services powered by moms. She's on a mission to get moms paid so that they can lead a flexible life. Before founding Momentum, she co-founded a co-working space for moms in Tacoma, Washington, ran a successful freelancing business, and worked for tech startups like Postmates. She has 2 kids under 5, Lily and Lukas, and her husband, kids, and 2 dogs live in Durham, North Carolina. What's really cool about Brooke and this interview that you're about to kind of dig into with me is that she's very real. She's been through it. She's going through it as well, right? Like the being more than a parent piece. But she's launching this amazing marketplace, which I actually already thought was launched. And over the last year, she's just been developing it and had it in a smaller kind of testing beta stage. Well, the exciting thing is that while you hear this episode, if you hear it in 2019, specifically now in October/November 2019, she has a crowdfunding campaign going on about Momentum, about the marketplace itself. And she shared with me the details to be able to check out the crowdfunding page. I have that in the show notes for y'all. And wherever it is that you're listening to this, it'll be there for you to check out so that you can see not only is it a mom-based platform, fundraising platform, but what it is that she's doing is just so different, so cool, and what a way for us to support one another. We talk about what it is to really do all the things, be all the things that it is that we are, and especially when it comes to creating a business. And she shares her journey and how she's done that. So check out this interview with me and let us know what you think. Reach out to us and definitely check out Brooke's crowdfunding campaign for Momentum Marketplace. In the app that she'll eventually have coming out. It's really cool to see what it is that she's done. I followed her for a long time on Facebook. We've been connected, and just to see who it is that she's being and how that's empowering other moms around her is amazing. So hopefully you'll be one of those 2, as am I, that is being empowered by who it is that she's being. Check it out. Tell me a little bit about your journey in becoming a parent, because I've been following you since you had your first baby.
Okay.
But yeah, tell us a little bit about, I guess, that journey itself.
Yeah. I always wanted to be a mom. I babysat a lot. I nannied. I was a teacher for a bit of time. So I always thought that like motherhood was just my natural, like what was going to happen. I have 2 other siblings, so grew up with a few siblings in the household, and my mom worked at a church and at a preschool, so she was around a lot, but she was working the whole time too, but she was a very present mom. So I just kind of thought that motherhood would be very similar to how I grew up for me. But then I have PCOS, so I thought I was going to have a really hard time having kids. So I kind of prepared myself like, okay, I prepared my husband, like it was going to be a really hard journey for us. And then we got pregnant like the second try. So
that's like, hilarious.
Okay, well, it was such a blessing, but oh, wow, we're going to be parents. And so it was like, we thought this long journey ahead of us was going to be so hard. And then it was like, we have a baby. And it was wonderful. And I really think being a mom the first time around, I was just reflecting on this recently, was easier for me because of how I had set it up. So I went back to work like probably 12 weeks after my daughter was born. Went back to work and I was working. And so I had like that break for myself, even though I ended up quitting, and that's a long story, but it was definitely good for me to go back to doing things for myself early on. And having a little bit of separation from my child, I was able to go home in the evening and be so excited to see her and everything like that. But I didn't have that flexibility built into my life. So I had work, which I was excited about, and I had baby, which I was excited about, but I didn't have me time.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what that looked like as a new mom. I was like, what is this me time? Like, how do you fit that in when you're a wife, you're a mom, and you're working in a job? Those are your titles. I didn't realize that I needed to have me. And I think it was kind of like a awakening for me when I realized that I needed to have that time. And so that's when I actually quit my job, and I was like, we need flexibility. Our family needs flexibility. And I know I want to work at some point, but I've got to figure this out. And that kind of started my whole journey. But I never thought I would be a stay-at-home mom. So I think like my journey to being a parent, like I always thought I would be working like my mom did. I would be working and I would have kids. And so that was a whole new world for me. My mom had never been a stay-at-home mom. So I didn't even know what that looked like. And so it was a really interesting journey when that occurred. So that's kind of my journey to the first child.
And then there's a second.
Then there's the second.
Yeah. When you mentioned an acronym at the beginning, could you, for those that don't know, including myself,
Yes.
could you let us know what that is?
Stay-at-home mom?
No.
No. What
Sorry, no.
You would be surprised how many people do not know that. Yes.
So let's start with that definition then. What is a stay-at-home mom in your definition, in your experience?
Yeah. I feel like there's really not truly that many actually stay-at-home moms. It would be a mom that has left her career, or maybe didn't have a career, but decided to stay home with her children once she was bearing children, and she stayed home for a period of time. Maybe she goes back at some point, but she's at home during that period of raising children.
And is that where you identify your season in right now?
No, definitely not now. No, now I don't know I feel like I fit into a weird category now. I mean, honestly, I'm working full time, but we have part-time childcare. So that's the season we're in now.
Well, and you're working full time, but it's for yourself. Is that right?
Yes, kind of. I mean, I am the founder and CEO of our company, but now I have other employees. So it's not just me anymore. And
but it's your own business,
but it
right?
is my own business.
Yeah.
So I still have that flexibility that I didn't have when I was working full time.
Yeah. Awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned the original acronym I was asking about was something related to being able to conceive, I believe.
Oh, yes. PCOS.
Okay, so that's what I thought it was.
Yeah. No, you're fine. I don't know, mom brain.
You're good.
So polycystic ovarian syndrome. So it is where you're insulin resistant and you usually have cysts on your ovaries. So it's hard to conceive. But for some really great reason, when I first was diagnosed when I was 21 to the time that I had my daughter in my late 20s, I had her at 29. I just made a lot of good health changes in my life and was able to get it under control. So
awesome.
Then luckily there was no problems and I was able to have her and my son really quickly.
Very cool. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for explaining that.
Of course.
So you mentioned the kind of the adventure into the first child. And so what would you say that second leg of that adventure with the second one, how did that look like for you as far as becoming a parent the second time around?
Yeah. So, I mean, we always knew we wanted to have 2 kids. We knew 2 or 3. Now we're very sure it was 2. We're good.
Hashtag 2 and through over here too.
Yes, 2 and through. We have a boy and a girl. You have a boy and a girl too, right?
Yeah.
Which I mean, I didn't really care, but
me either.
Still,
yeah.
We've covered all the bases. But I think we just kind of thought it was time. Looking back, I love my little one obviously, but I probably would have waited longer. It's hard when they're both not in school full time and you're trying to do other things. I love that they are about 2.5 years apart. So
I was just about to ask you.
Yeah. I love that they're, pretty close and they have so much fun together. They also fight a lot, but, that's natural siblingness. And I'm glad I'm done. Like, I'm glad now, It's a whole, like a new season for us. I think me and my husband are both ready for that new season. But it was hard. Like literally my son's about to turn 2. And it's been a hard season. I mean, neither one of us will deny that. And my kid doesn't sleep well. We're actually, just speaking of things that we're doing to make things better, I probably should have done this like, when he was 12 weeks old, but we are getting a sleep consultant now as a toddler, just because I'm like, this isn't working. Like I need him to sleep solidly. My daughter sleeps great now. And I was like, I'm ready to sleep again, and I'll be a better parent. And it's a hard, parenthood is hard. But when we decided to conceive my second, I was kind of in a weird phase of my life too. After leaving my job, when I had my daughter, I lasted as a stay-at-home mom for probably 5 minutes, because probably a few days later, I was already researching how to be a freelancer and work from home. And I probably have done just about everything you can think of as a work from home
sorry,
mom.
did you see me? It is. I'm sorry. That was awesome. All right. Thank God he has a big head. I just totally hit him on my headphones. I'm sorry. I'm with you.
That is so funny.
So you were researching?
No. Yeah, I was researching like all the stay-at-home mom work that you can do from home. So I wrote resumes for people. I did some MLM stuff for a while. Then I realized, I actually have really great skills from my previous job. And I was a project manager and also had web development skills. So I freelanced, and all of my clients were moms. Pretty much moms that were starting businesses. And so that kind of started my journey about 4 years ago, with working with moms. And it's fun to see it now, like 5 years later, that now I'm creating this company that is helping to get moms paid so they can lead a flexible life. And that's the thing I so desired 5 years ago, is how do I get paid and how do I lead a flexible life at the same time? So it's so cool to see that, come to fruition. But so many things happened in that in between. So when we were about to have my second, it was in April, and my son was born in end of November. And one of my friends from Tacoma, Washington, when we were living there, approached me. We had just met a few times at some events, and her daughter was the same age as mine and going to the same preschool. And she goes, you have a lot of skills that I need, and I really want to start a business. Will you have coffee with me? I was like, okay, sure. And what transpired in that coffee play date on a rainy day outside of Seattle was building a co-working space for moms. And it was beautiful and an amazing journey. So from April until we opened the doors the first weekend in November, and I literally had the baby 3 weeks later. So just that crazy season of when you're birthing things literally and figuratively. And we created this awesome space, but that's what I needed in that season. And I think that I'm really glad that I honored that like, it's okay. Yes, I'm pregnant. People are like, what are you doing? You're launching a business and you're super pregnant. But it's what I needed, and it helped me get through that pregnancy. I'm one of the ones that doesn't really like to be pregnant, except for a little bit of the second trimester.
Okay. So, I'm so happy to meet you, because everyone else loves it, or they super hate it, but I did not. I won't miss it.
Yeah. Me either. Yeah. I mean, it's a long time. Yeah. And, I know I told my husband, I was like, I need a little break from birthing things, because I feel like then I had my son and then I started this other company. So now we're birthing that. And I'm like, we're good birthing for a while. Yeah. But yeah, so it was a hard journey, going into that, and then having a newborn with a new company, like with a new co-working space. But I had created it for moms. And so literally when he was like 4 weeks old, I was at the co-working space doing some work, and moms were holding my baby and helping out. And, it was crazy, but it was all, and I was taking them to all the meetings, but, I did what made me happy. It was a little crazy. I'm sure people thought I was nuts, but at the same time, it worked for me.
Yeah. And I mean, life's too short for normal.
It is.
And what an amazing sisterhood / motherhood, literally. And also in the bonding of being together and supporting as a community, as a tribe. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
For sure. It truly was. And I think all of those moms, now we've moved across the country, but all of those moms will always be really special to me and to my kids, because whether they remember it too much or not later on. But like my daughter still asks like, oh, I miss the pod and I miss the pod moms and stuff. And I'm like, I know, I do too. But luckily there's a really great, there's a family friendly coffee shop here that's owned by an amazing family. It's called Nolia Coffee. And they're doing a lot of the same things that we were doing at the pod. So I'm just glad I have another pod here.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And it's funny too, because pods move. So you found your new pod.
They do. I found my new pod. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So you've mentioned a lot of how kind of like, I know how you've been able to integrate and also kind of transition through all these different seasons of being a parent, of being you, of being a business owner, and also when you were working for someone else. How do you describe, or how do you relate your, how do you identify with being more than a parent?
You know, I think for a long time I struggled with being more than a parent. I think so much of society is like, you're a mom, you get put into this box and sometimes looked differently for doing different things. And, I probably have struggled with that even up till recently, but my daughter's preschool teacher, she's my favorite person right now. I told her, I'm like, I'm sorry, like, I'm not going to, or no, I didn't even tell her. I made a Facebook post and she saw it. And I was like, this is not my season to be a super present, like, mom at preschool. Like, I'm lucky if I return the permission form for the field trip. I almost forgot that I had to take her on the field trip. I almost was late to school pickup today. Like, I'm not the present parent right now. But I am there for her and I am supportive of her. And instead, my daughter is seeing that mommy is very happy with what she's doing. She's always asking me, who did you talk to on the podcast today? Or, where are you traveling to next week? And she's excited about what I'm doing. And this weekend, we're going to have a booth in a local event. And she's like, how can I help raise money for Momentum? And, it's allowing yourself to be you while you're parenting. And that's just a part of us. It's not all of us. And being self-aware enough of that to go, I can be both. Like, I always tell people, like, you're not your job and you're not your course that you created if no one buys it. Like, you are you. Yeah. That's something that you've put out into the world. That's something, like, I've created this child and I'm raising them. But it's not just me, So that's kind of more than a parent. It's hard, but if you aren't more than a parent, like, you wouldn't ask your kid to just be your child. Like, you wouldn't ask them to stay in a box. And I think we put so many expectations on ourselves, but we wouldn't do that to our kid. So I try to turn that around whenever I'm like, just as much as like positive self-talk or negative self-talk. Like, I would never say to my daughter, like, you look fat or whatever. So why am I saying that to myself? So, I think it's the same as we have to display what we want our kids to see.
That's beautiful. I have not thought about that perspective before about like, would I have my child just be my child? And it reminds me too, that self-talk and how we treat ourselves and versus how we treat others. I worked with someone before who did, inner healing for your child, like for your inner child.
Yeah, your inner child. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, if your inner child, if you're feeling freaked out about something because of your past or whatever, like validating that feeling and bringing awareness to it and letting them know, you know what, I totally get why, you're freaked out about this, but we got this. Let me, go hang out, color to your inner child.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and do that speech, or whatever it is. So I love that perspective. Something else you just said that really brought up something for us all to think about is, so in the podcast and everything that I'm doing, I talk about being a present parent, but I think it's so important for us to look at what definition and what expectations, verbally or unspoken, that we want to give different roles or whatever it is in life, right? Whether it's our relationship to self or to others, whatever. Because being present, you're doing it, you're being it. In the way that you're doing it, it may look different for one other person, than you and than me. So while you're not being quote unquote, maybe what society or maybe your preschool teacher might expect or whatever, you're doing those things. And how amazing, like my innards just like, were so happy, which super weird thing to say. My innards were so happy, but like my inner everything was just so happy to hear. There's no way to come back from that. To hear how you're
once you're a mom, nothing sounds
my
gross.
So happy. But what I was trying to say is for your daughter to be consciously asking about the podcast show or how she can help, like you're making such a big impact with her, excuse me, that she's looking at ways that she can also sew into what you're doing.
Yeah.
And man, like talk about goals, you know, mother goals, parent goals in general, to have our kids tied into that.
It is. And it's that I have to remind myself often that it's that quality over quantity that like this season, like there was a season when I was home with her all the time and she didn't go to childcare or daycare or anything. And that was a beautiful season in itself too. But this season is not that, but she's blooming in her own way and love it. She loves to go to school and she goes to a childcare place 3 times a week and she loves it. And so it's okay. And she comes home and then I'm able to be very present because I've worked all day and got things done, and done what I wanted to do. And so now I can be more present for her. Maybe it's just a few hours in the evening, but like in the morning I go work out while my son is still asleep. And she comes down to the basement with me to work out and talk to me while I'm working out and everything. And so we have those little times, you fit it in.
Yeah.
And it works. So
that's awesome. That's super cool. So tell us a little bit more about your business in itself and just how you're supporting and serving moms. Before you do, I just wanted to say, this is such a big deal because as a mom, my first child I had while I worked for someone in a company. And so I had short-term disability or whatever, but it still is not enough, you know, and it's for such a short period of time and the timing of it's all out of your control. So doing what you're doing is serving in such a way that it's not just the money, it's the time, it's being able to be present and also having inner peace when you're with your kids. So I just think it's really cool. And so, so tell us more about that.
Yeah. So after I founded the co-working space for moms, I just saw that so many moms were buying and selling each other's goods and services, and they had become this amazing pod, this tribe, this village around one another, that there was something really special about that. And they had really created almost this like micro economy of helping to support one another. And they weren't just bartering, they were actually buying and selling each other's stuff and promoting each other everywhere, and telling people, oh, this pod mom does this and this pod mom does that. And then I saw that there were lots of organizations or co-working spaces that were doing similar things for moms, whether it was like a membership group or it was another co-working space. And I'm like, why are these groups not connected? Like so many people are doing amazing things, but maybe our pod doesn't have a sleep consultant, or maybe the other pod doesn't have an accountant, and how can we connect these? And so that's kind of where this idea for an online marketplace for moms came from. And so it is called Momentum. The name for it came from me just basically banging my head against the wall trying to think of an idea. And I'm like, I can't figure it out. And I told my husband, and he's like, well, what about, we had thrown a lot of ideas out there. And he's like, what about moment? Because it's like this moment in time where, a mom realizes she kind of needs something different, or she's at home with her child and she wants to make some money, or she wants some flexibility. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And it kind of sat on it. And then he was like, no, what about momentum? And I was like, yes. I was like, yes, because moms are helping each other to create momentum in their life and move forward. And so as every mom and other people are coming in to buy and sell each other's goods and services, they make more money and they gain more flexibility and that inner peace for themselves. And so we launch for sales next week officially. And I have spent the last year building out the platform. We had a closed beta. We've talked to hundreds and hundreds of moms about what they want. It's basically Etsy, Fiverr, and Upwork merged into one. We are the only marketplace that has both goods and services of any marketplace out there. which was a beast in itself to create, but I was determined to do it because that's what moms want, because they weren't just doing goods. They just weren't doing services. We found so many moms that were doing graphic design, but also making jewelry or painting and also doing accounting. And so I wanted moms to be able to come to one place, have a one-stop shop to do it all, so they could have more time with their kids and be able to live that season of motherhood. And then I found that a lot of entrepreneurs that were creating companies and startups and, starting to gain traction were needing to hire people, but they weren't ready to hire a full-time employee. They weren't even ready to bring on even a full-time contractor or a part-time contractor. And so they were coming to me going, hey, do you have a pod mom or somebody that you know in your network that could help with this? And a lot of moms that I had worked on their websites years ago were coming to me going, can you help me again? Like, I need this for my business. And it just started to kind of take traction. And so that's what we've done. And we have worked with a whole bunch of those co-working spaces and mom organizations around the country that have these membership sites that are predominantly directory based, and they're not actually making transactions. And so we're working with them to partner so they will get a lower percentage of transaction fee on our platform. We don't have any listing fees, and we're all about the mom. So it's free to list on our platform and all of that. The only time we're going to charge you is when you make a transaction, and that's for us hosting you on our platform.
That's amazing. I didn't realize first, I didn't realize how intricate it was. And then I didn't realize that it was all beta. And like now you're really launching like this whole new level, which I'm so stoked to see where this takes you, and for our next conversation, just to see how it went and some of the stories that you probably already have of the impact that you're making and the impact that the platform is making, and not just for the moms, but who it's connecting to and the greater impact. Yeah. Like that's awesome.
Super cool. Been a beautiful and crazy journey. And, but one that like, I knew for the last year, I was like, this has to be made. And I kept telling myself like the moms need it. And like, I needed it 5 years ago. And I have moms, I pitched at an event the other day, and I had a mom come to me that is probably almost my mom's age. And she was like, man, I really wish I had this when I left my career. Cause she's like, I didn't really want to leave my job, but it was kind of what was expected. And one of us had to leave our jobs, and my husband was making more, but she's like, it was so hard to get back into the workforce after my kids had left, gone to school and stuff. And she's like, if I had just had something where I could keep my skills fresh or try new things on my terms, then that would have been so great. And so just hearing those stories and of our moms that are trying to become entrepreneurs and are able to come and use our platform. And like someone is a professor right now in Georgia, and she needed a website because she just wrote a book, and it has nothing to do with her, what her teaching is about. And so she needed to rebrand herself in a completely different way. And we were able to help her with all of those things in the beta. So
that's super awesome.
It's exciting. And we have moms are just so great and supportive and want to support each other. So we've had so much great support, and we launched a crowdfunding campaign next week too that will help us to raise money to build an app, because right now we're a web-based platform, but with the app we'll be able to get especially more buyers on the platform, because they can go really quickly and purchase things.
Yeah, totally. So with this, with everything you have coming out next week, we'll actually be launching this podcast / videocast will be coming out tomorrow, which will be the 25th. Yeah. So this will be really nice time-based for what you're doing. So with that being said, where can we go to find out more, to check out the, not just like the platform itself, but you mentioned the crowdfunding website.
Yeah, so everything will be, we're actually running our crowdfunding campaign through iFundWomen, because there's so many crowdfunding platforms, but I really feel like women need to put their money where their mouth is, and we need to support other women-owned businesses. It is owned, it's co-founded by 3 moms. I've met one of them, and I'm going to meet the rest of them in a few weeks in New York. They're fabulous, and they are on a mission to also get moms paid more and get women in general. But It's a phenomenal platform, really easy to use and really supportive. So we will be on iFundWomen. We are in like our incognito phase right now, but we'll be live on November 1st. So you can go to iFundWomen and find us there for Momentum Market. And then you can go to our website, which everything will be updated on there. It's just momentummarket.io. You can go there to find us. And then our Instagram is at Momentum Market. So both of those places are the best places to find us.
Awesome. And I'll make sure to share that in the show notes and wherever I post this too. So people will have access to that. So that's wonderful. Thank you. So as we kind of wrap up and just bringing everything together, you kind of already went into this, but I wonder if you have anything else to share is, so like, obviously our kids are always observing all the things, right? Even the things we don't think they're observing or is observable. Jokes on me, on us when that happens. And it's like, oh, but
you saw that.
So with all that being said, regardless of what it is that, obviously one of your kids is talking now. The other one, are they both talking now?
They're both talking. One obviously talks a lot more than the 4.5-year-old just doesn't stop. But they're both talking now.
So I was like, are they both? I'm so funny. I'm still learning kids. Like this is my second one, but like
I'm still learning too.
I'm like, do they talk yet? When does it stop? No. So with that being said, what is it that you're wanting? Let me get this question right. So what would you want them to be able to say about who it is that you're being and what it is that you're doing? So even like, in the future, I know that your daughter's already said quite a bit of things now, but future based.
Yeah. I think just as much as what I, want in my future, I really want to be a thought leader in the mom space. And so just, letting my daughter know that like women can be leaders and seeing that mommy is a leader and she already knows. She's like, you're a CEO. That's what she always tells people. And I'm like, well, that's cute, sweetie. Thank you. But I don't think she has any idea what a CEO is. She just likes to say it. But, just knowing that she can be a leader too, and that women can do big things. So, and for my son too, to see that as well. I mean, it's interesting because when they're not even 2 yet, like you haven't fully seen their personality of like, what are they going to gravitate towards? But, just being raised by a strong woman, for my son as well, just to see that the feminine can be, just as beautiful as the masculine. And when we work together, it can be even better.
I love it. So last question I have for you is, if you could go back in time and send your past self a message, right? As you were in the midst of figuring out, and I know we still are sometimes in the midst of figuring out all the integrations of being a parent and whatever that more is for us.
Yeah.
But just pick a time and tell me, what would you tell yourself back then?
Yeah. This morning I had a podcast interview and Catherine Lynch, who wrote Slay Like a Mother, that's who I was talking to. And she said that she wrote down on a sticky note when she was writing her book and she put it on her computer that she said, I expect this to be hard because it is, and it's going to be hard. But when you tell yourself, and I wish I had told myself then that like, this is going to be hard, but also that you're going to fail a lot, but to just always trust your gut, because that's one thing that I feel like I've done throughout these last 5 years since I became a parent or was pregnant and then had kids, was that it doesn't all look, like what you think it's going to be for a long time. Like I never, I was writing resumes and, doing MLM and totally not what I'm doing now. But it all led to this. And my my chief operations officer, she is always like, you are a master networker. And I'm like, it's just because for 5 years I failed a lot and met a lot of people in the failing, and now it's working for me. And it's just, knowing that your intuition is going to guide you. I think that's huge. But knowing that's going to be hard, and it's okay. Like, it's okay that it's hard. But not to be cliche, but like we can do hard things, but also to expect that it's going to be hard. Like, no, like going back to that, no, it's going to be a struggle, but it's your choice how you're going to live it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you can struggle and still be happy and still,
Yes.
find the grace in it or find the
Yeah.
humor in it, even if it's after.
Yeah.
But it's just
Exactly.
part of it for sure. It's
Yeah.
all choice. So
Yeah, it is.
Brooke, thank you so much for, coming on today and just sharing who it is you're being and what it is that you're doing. And I really am excited to check out what you're working on and excited for November 1st.
Yes, I know. I know. We're so excited to put it all out there. And really we're already mom built and mom powered, and now we want to be mom funded. So we really can keep that feminine as part of the company as we move forward.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. And again, guys, check out the show notes. That'll have all the information on how to contact Brooke and how to check out Momentum and the crowdfunding as well if you're checking it during 2019. So thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this episode of More Than a Parent. To be your more, live your and. Continue the conversation with us and connect at morethanAparent.mn.co.